Hey guys, this video is for you if you've had a traumatic childhood and on a healing journey of forgiveness, but still struggle to find peace. Now, you've forgiven those who have wronged you, but you still feel empty, unhappy, and disconnected from yourself and to the world. And I want to share the one thing that worked for me and gave me closure with my childhood and brought incredible peace and transformation. So I'll be sharing two things. Number one, how to do this one thing. And number two, what I experienced immediately after I did this one thing and the immediate effect it took on my life. Now, guys, before I begin, I just want to say I understand everyone's trauma and experience is unique, and there's no one method fits all. But I'm sharing my personal story in the hopes that maybe my story, my interpretation of my experience and insight might resonate with you and help you on your own path to healing. So I really hope you can hear my story and message with an open heart. All right. Now, guys, people will tell you that you have to forgive those who have wronged you in order to move on. But, I've found that one of the key factors in healing from childhood trauma goes beyond simply forgiving those who have hurt and wronged you. Because, even after forgiveness, those who have wronged you can't atone for the emptiness and pain you carried all these years. They can't atone for the love and grace you need to fill that hollow in your soul that you desperately want to fill. They can't. And the truth is, no one can except for you. Guys, this is why you shouldn't rely to seek closure from others, and especially from those who have wronged you, because nothing they say to you or do for you can ever completely close the hole you feel inside of you. Closure needs to come from you, for you. And the reason why you still may not have peace and feel unsatisfied and disconnected, even after you've forgiven those who have wronged you, is because you haven't made peace with your younger self, your inner self. That's the one thing. The main character in your entire story of your childhood that matters the most still hasn't been given proper acknowledgement, proper love, proper forgiveness from you. I know what you're thinking. Wait a minute, forgive myself? What? Yes, I know it sounds off, and it may even be upsetting to hear that because you know you did nothing wrong. But in order to have true peace, you not only need to forgive those who have wronged you, but also forgive yourself. Guys, without doing both, you cannot have peace. Look, if you've had a volatile childhood, there's a very good chance you struggle with a varying range of depression, anxiety, anger, rage, sadness, lack of motivation, exhaustion, being passive, right? Because of the constant fighting back and defending you had to do as a child in order to survive. And you probably have a distorted perception of self-worth, and you lack self-esteem and self-love, right? And here's the thing. You are still feeling those emotions as an adult because all the emotions you felt as a child in that traumatic period of your life are still connected to you. All the byproduct of trauma is still bound to you because there are needs that still haven't been met. Guys, emotions are simply directions, a compass to guide you to unfulfilled needs of your spirit. And all the emotions you still feel as an adult are because your younger self, your inner child, is still crying out for help, crying out for validation from you, approval from you, permission from you to move on. Yes, permission. Guys, we are all born with our own unique light inside of us that gives us primal understanding between right and wrong. Even as a baby, we know when something is right or wrong, between something that makes us feel good or not feel good. And when we are placed in an environment that is volatile and unstable, that makes us do and say things that are negative or dark, even if our actions and words were spoken in defense, in reaction to something done to us in order to survive, it still creates disconnect from our inner light. Volatility creates discord, and discord disconnects us from our light. And when we disconnect from ourselves and lose alignment with our light, that's when we lose our way to honor and protect our boundaries. And that's when we fall into feelings of despair, disconnect, oppression, emptiness, anger, and the feeling of being lost. And even as babies, we are all born with our own unique boundaries that make us feel safe, even though we can't express or communicate them efficiently. And even as babies and as young children, our boundaries can be crossed. So during your childhood, through all the danger and threats you had to defend and protect yourself from, you were forced to react in ways that you as a child inherently knew was, quote, bad or wrong. And because you were only a child, you didn't have the emotional intelligence to reason your behavior. So over time, as years went by, continuing to grow up in the same volatile, threatening environment that triggered certain behaviors from you, certain reactions from you, you began to associate your behavior to your identity, to who you are as a person. And the thing is, when you behave or speak in the same way repeatedly over and over again for years and years, starting from the developmental age of a child, you begin to grow up believing that's who you are. It's belief based on environmental conditioning. And because we are all born with a primal discernment between good and bad, as you grew older, you started to judge your own behaviors and concluded, based on your behaviors, despite them being reactions and defense for survival, that you are also bad, volatile, and anything good that comes from life, you are undeserving because you are, quote, bad or unworthy. So, even as your body grew into an adult over the years, your emotional mind was still functioning and perceiving from the wounded child's perspective. The perspective that created your current emotional struggles, lack of self-worth, identity issues, and lack of self-esteem and self-love. And here's where it gets super important. And I need you to use your imagination for this one, all right? All right, so imagine a little child. And if you've been around little kids, you know that they wait for permission, approval, and acknowledgement from an adult for just about everything, right? It's like, can I go to the bathroom? Did you see me jump? Did you see me, Mom? Did you see me, Dad? Watch me. Did you see? Right? Or, Mom, I burped. Or, Mommy, I said the F word. Mommy, I said the F word. I said a bad word. Mommy, right? And they won't stop pointing out what they said, something naughty, until you finally acknowledge that you heard them, right? Children need acknowledgement, approval, and permission to feel seen so they can let go of that current moment and then move on to explore the next moment. They want to move on after that current moment has been validated and approved by an adult so they can feel they're on the right track of growing up. They're kids. Subconsciously, kids crave to know they're on the right track, right? So now, imagine yourself as a little child in the midst of all the chaos and trauma that was your childhood. Imagine your younger self, a little child, small and helpless, fighting back and defending yourself against these big, strong adults. Maybe you did a lot of hiding, staying quiet, or fighting back, shouting back, whatever it was your younger self had to do to survive, right? But the point is, you had to do lots of it in order to survive. Now imagine with every little bad thing your younger self had to do or say out of self-preservation and self-defense. You were looking for an adult to say to you, I see you, and to excuse you with love and validation. The reason you as an adult are still feeling empty and disconnected is because your inner child is very much alive, standing in your spirit, confessing with the innocence of a child, saying, I said a bad word. I did a bad thing. I'm a bad person, right? And asking for permission to be forgiven for all the bad things he or she did and to be validated with grace and love, to be excused by an adult. Your younger self, your inner child, is waiting for permission and validation from you to be able to rest and move on. This is exactly how I reconciled myself with my childhood. When I was on my healing journey in my early 20s, I was fine combing all my unmet needs as a child when suddenly I saw myself as a little girl. She literally popped into my mind in such a real and raw way. I was able to see her so clearly, and she was alone, huddled, stiff like this, and so scared. And when I saw her, all I wanted to do was hold her as tight as I could and love her. And I did. I literally imagined myself as an adult holding my younger self with deep, deep love, comfort, and warmth. And here's the wild thing. Guys, when I did that, organically, these words just flowed out of my mouth, out loud. You're safe now. I'll protect you. How scary this must have been for you. It's okay. You did the best you could. Thank you for all you did. Thank you, sweet little brave Bora. Rest now. You're safe now. You don't need to punish yourself. You didn't know any better. You did so well. I forgive you. And guys, when I said I forgive you, when that came out of my mouth, tears started streaming down my face. And that's the exact moment when I knew my heart was filled with peace. And I knew instantly it was done. That chapter was closed. My inner child was seen and heard and at peace, whole and put to rest. It was literally as if she disappeared, like night, night. She went bedtime, gone. And I felt another missing chunk of my heart return back together again, being made whole again. Guys, and that's a true story right there. So if you struggle with finding peace, even after you've forgiven those who have wronged you, try forgiving yourself, your inner child, seeing your inner child. And as you forgive yourself, do not forget to thank yourself. This part is so, so, so important. Thank your younger self for being so brave in such a scary situation, for surviving. Oh my God, think about that. The bravery you had to have in order to survive, no matter what type of behavior, good or bad, that bravery produced. Wow, right? And guys, I didn't have the help of therapy in my healing journey. I did it alone in a fairly short amount of time. I'm not saying therapy is bad. I'm not against therapy at all. But what I'm saying is, don't feel like you must have the hand of a therapist to start your healing journey. You have the power within yourself. For me personally, being alone with no one to face but myself was what worked for me personally. But I seriously invested lots of time alone and dug deep and faced hard truths and went to the dark places and relentlessly put in the work every second of the day, every single day. I literally took zero shortcuts. The harder it got, the harder I pushed to get freedom, to peace. And honestly, there were no breaks for me. Failure and doing it half-assed was not an option for me because I desperately wanted to be an emotionally fully functioning human being and being alive, right? Not being bound to my past. So you can do it too if you work from a place of absolute and total transparency and honesty with yourself, and with a non-negotiable willingness and promise to make permanent, lifelong changes, and you have to be completely able to surrender to truth and then accept truth with grace and love. That's important too. And so when you make this type of contract with yourself, healing steps do and will continue to reveal themselves to you organically, because guys, truth opens doors. And every time a door reveals itself to you and you enter each door with truth in your heart, it will continue to open more doors until you have all the truth inside of you and are reconciled back to your light, your authenticity that the universe created you to be. Guys, the universe is always on your side. It is always working to keep you at your highest purpose, but it takes cues from you. So if you take that first step with absolute commitment and transparency, it will rush to help you unravel all the discord that disconnects you from your light. So don't wait to start. Give proper attention to your inner child, the one that is waiting for you to say, I see you. You were so brave. It's not your fault. I forgive you. Thank you. Rest now. You are safe. I will protect you from now on. And guys, after you've made peace with your inner child, keep the promise you made to it. Understand what your boundaries are and exercise and protect your boundaries for your younger self that fought so bravely to survive and for the life ahead of you. A life where you as an adult now have the power to make sound choices for yourself and the direction you want your life to go. Guys, from here on out, the accountability does lie on you and on your shoulders. You are now your own keeper, not your childhood, not your past. So guys, remember, true closure can only come from yourself, all right? That's it, guys. If you found this video helpful and valuable, I just ask that you take 2 seconds to like the video and comment below. costs nothing to you but sharing good vibes. That supports my channel and helps more people find this on YouTube that may need to hear this, all right? Also, hit subscribe so you don't miss upcoming videos on topics just like this, in addition to dating and relationship tips influenced by feminine energy. I help the boss babes and Miss Independent get back in touch with their feminine energy so they can transform their dating and love life. I also help women create a life of clarity, peace, and happiness by tapping into authenticity, self-love, and self-acceptance, and harnessing power through life challenges. And check out these helpful videos here. This one's a really good one. That actually matches perfectly with today's video. All right, so thanks guys. I will see you next Friday, sometimes a Saturday. Bye.